Hello everyone, welcome back to Aesop's Fables. Please remember these fables now, they are getting to the older ones, and the older ones can be a little hard to understand, and they can be quite strange, might I add. So this is called the Imposter. I've never actually heard of this one before, so we shall see. A certain man fell ill, and being in a very bad way, he made a vow that he would sacrifice 100 oxen to the gods if they would grant him a return to health. Wishing to see how he would keep his vow, they caused him to recover in a short time. Now, he hadn't an ox in the world, so how would he get the 100? Well, that's a different story. I mean, 100 little oxen out of tallow. Well, that's what he did. He needed to offer them up to the altar, at the same time saying, Ye gods, I call you to witness that I have discharged my vow. The gods determined to be ever with him, so they sent him a dream in which he was bidden to go to the seashore and fetch 100 crowns, which he was to find there. Hastening in great excitement to the shore, he fell in with a band of robbers, who seized him and carried him off to sell as a slave. And when they sold him, 100 crowns was the sum in which he fetched. Do not promise more than you can perform. I'm going to explain that to you. So what happened was, the man became ill, excuse me, and he made this vow to deliver 100 oxen to the gods as a sacrifice so that he could be better. He did deliver the 100 oxen, but they were all babies, they were all newborns. So even though he did deliver them, he did not deliver them in the correct way that pleased the gods, because these were young animals. They had much life ahead of them. The gods, this would displease very much. You know, the old animals is different, but the young ones, no. So they sent him a dream to think that he'd become rich if he went a particular way. Trusting the gods, he went that particular way, and indeed he did get the 100 crowns they promised, but it was for the sale of him, not for himself. And that's the way the gods sort of got him back. The Stag and the Lion. A stag was chased by the hounds and took refuge in a cave, where he hoped to be safe from all his pursuers. Unfortunately, the cave contained a lion, to whom he fell an easy prey. Unhappy that I am, he cried, unhappy, unhappy. I am saved from the power of the dogs, only to fall into the clutches of a lion. Out of the frying pan, into the fire. I'm sure if you remember that phrase, it came from that fable. Out of the frying pan, into the fire. It's interesting, isn't it? The dogs and the hides. Once upon a time, a number of dogs, who were famished with hunger, saw some hides steeping in a river, but couldn't get at them because the water was too deep. So they put their heads together and decided to drink away at the river till it was shallow enough for them to reach the hides. But long before that happened, they burst themselves with drinking. Don't be greedy. The Lion, the Fox, and the Ass. A lion, a fox, and an ass went out hunting together. They had soon taken a large booty, which the lion requested the ass to divide between them all. The ass divided it all into 3 equal parts, and modestly begged the others to take their choice, at which the lion, bursting with fury, sprang upon the ass and tore him to pieces. Then, glaring at the fox, he bade him make a fresh division. The fox gathered almost the whole in one great heap from the lion's snare, leaving only the smallest possible morsel for himself. My dear friend, said the lion, how did you get the knack of it so well? The fox replied, Me. Oh, I just took a lesson from the ass. So basically, the ass took a big share, so the lion ate him. The fox, though, seeing what the lion did to the ass, he knew only to take a small amount, so the lion would let him live. Happy is he who learns from the misfortunes of the others. That's the lesson in that. The fowler, the partridge, and the cock. One day, as the fowler was sitting down to a scanty supper, this was of herbs and bread, nothing more, a friend dropped in unexpectedly. The larder was empty, so he went out and caught a tame partridge, which he kept as a decoy, and was about to wring her neck when she cried, "Surely you won't kill me? Why, what will you do without me next time you go fowling? How will you get the birds to come to your nets?" He let her go at this, and went to his hen house, where he had a plump young cock. And when the cock saw that what he was after from him, he too pleaded for his life and said, "What, if you kill me, how will you know the time of night? And who will make you get up in the morning when it's time to get to work?" The fowler, however, replied, "You are useful for telling the time, I know, but for all that, I can't send my friend supperless to bed." And therewith he caught him and wrung his neck and served him for supper. The Gnat and the Lion. A gnat once went up to a lion and said, "I am not in the least afraid of you. I don't even allow that you are a match for me in strength. Why does your strength amount to, after all, that you can scratch with your claws, bite with your teeth, just like a woman, in a temper, and nothing more? But I'm stronger than you. If you don't believe it, let us fight and see." So saying, the gnat sounded his horn and darted in and bit the lion on the nose. When the lion felt the sting, in his haste to crush him, he scratched his own nose badly, and, off in a triumph because he made the lion bleed, he was elated by his victory. Presently, however, it got entangled in a spider's web, and was caught and eaten by the spider, thus falling to prey anyway. An insignificant insect after all, he did triumph over the king of beasts, only now to be eaten by a spider. The farmer and his dogs. A farmer was snowed up in his farmstead by a severe storm, and was unable to go out and procure provisions for himself and his family. So he first killed his sheep and used them for food. And then, as the storm still continued, he killed his goats. And last of all, as the weather showed no signs of improving, he was compelled to kill his own oxen that he loved and eat them. When his dogs saw the various animals being killed and eaten in turn, they said to one another, "We'd better get out of this, or we shall be the next to perish." The eagle and the fox. An eagle and a fox became great friends and determined to live near one another. They thought that the more they saw of each other, the better friends they would be. So the eagle built a nest at the top of a high tree, while the fox settled in the thicket at the foot of the same tree and produced a litter of cubs. One day the fox went out foraging for food, and the eagle, who also wanted food for her young, flew down into the thicket, caught up the fox's cubs, and carried them right into her nest for a meal for herself and her family. When the fox came back and found out what had happened, she was not so much sorry for the loss of her cubs as furious because she couldn't get at the eagle. She couldn't pay her what she needed to pay her for her own treachery. So she sat down not far off and cursed her. But it wasn't long before she had her revenge. Some villagers happened to be sacrificing a goat on a neighbouring altar. The eagle flew down and carried off a piece of burning flesh to a nest. There was a strong wind blowing. The nest caught fire, with the result being her fledglings fell half roasted to the ground. Then the fox ran to the spot and devoured them in full sight of the eagle. The lesson in that is false faith may escape human punishment, but cannot escape the divine. What that basically means is just because the person that you hurt does not punish you, that does not mean karma's not coming to bite your ass, because it is. Thank you for listening to this episode of Fables. I know they are peculiar, but they kind of make me chuckle, you know. Anyway, many blessings.